Greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Tenney and Brian Lee, aka the Series 7 Guru and the Test Geek. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Merry Christmas.
Please tell us, we do this every Tuesday. So Tuesdays are our live stream. Thursday, not every Thursday is a premiere. Sometimes there is. And this week there is a premiere, and it's an SIE exam, a practice exam. So during that premiere on Thursday, I man the chat. It's a live Q&A chat, and you can ask any question about any FINRA or NASA exam. It's not the live stream, but we're there holding down the fort. So tell us what series you're taking, where you're joining us from. That would be helpful. If you have a question, a lot of people like to join the live stream just to, be simpatico, comrades in arms, so to speak. And feel free to chat with victorious test takers who pop in from time to time. But if you have a question for Brian and I, it's easier if you'll put SIE or S7 and then a capital Q followed by your question, because that way Brian and I aren't fumbling around trying to find your question. And if it's something like, as I always say, some exams, your question could be important. And, sometimes we'll still answer it, but sometimes we'll say on that particular exam, it's not really a big deal, low probability or high probability. So tell us, it's not a big deal, but if you can remember to do that, that would be helpful. Now, in terms of the channel, I always tell you, I think my YouTube channel, which you're on now, it may not. We broadcast to Facebook, we broadcast to LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. But if you're on the channel is, I believe, the best free supplement to your paid study materials. Now, recently, I have been over the last several months, and we're always evolving. I've been posting little video explanations. I call them explications of questions that people want help in. I've been putting those on Facebook. And I've been putting them on Reddit and not the channel because I didn't want to crowd the channel. However, test takers and training departments told me that they can't access Facebook and Reddit from their corporate servers at work, whereas they can YouTube. I don't know why, but so I've moved those all home and they're now back on the YouTube channel. So you'll find all those videos have been moved back to the channel, and moving forward, they will be on the channel, and then I'll share them to Facebook and Reddit rather than the other way around. Now, in terms of paid supplements, you have two. Well, there's lots of them, but the two best. I think a Kaplan QBank, if you don't have that in your possession, is a great investment. With the 10% discount code that I have at checkout, you can get that for about $58.50. And in combination with that, Brian, who's joining us here and volunteering his time, has his paid supplements. And Brian has been kind enough to give you a 20% discount. And that code is Guru20. And that will get you all in on Brian's videos, courses is about $80. I think the 24 might be a little higher, but around 80 all in on our friend Brian. All right, so let's go get our comments started and see what we got in store for today.
Any feedback this week?
It's pretty much the routine feedback. Nothing that I say, okay, that's, nothing out of the ordinary, so to speak. It's always a function, as you know, Brian, of which test is it? Because sometimes you ask somebody, oh, it's the easiest thing I ever did. It's the hardest thing I ever did. So it's kind of weird. And it's, I had a guy, this guy claimed he did like 24 past perfect exams. And he got an 80 and he still failed the exam. I find that difficult to believe, but
wow.
I'm not going to call anybody a liar. It's beyond me to do that. So, all right. So there's our victorious test takers. Good evening. If you have any, want to talk to a victorious test taker in the house, good evening. So I probably the 66, I would imagine, would be the freshest dragon she slayed, but I think she slayed as well her SIE, her Series 7,
and triple 66. Crown winner.
That's right, triple crown, trifecta, hat trick, whatever you want to call it. Hey guys, what's up? Oh, I like the little doogie, little cute little dog. 66 from Dallas. Well, welcome, LinkedIn user. Lots of test takers in Dallas. Dallas is a hotbed, for financial services. So Fidelity is huge out there. Schwab is huge. Schwab moved Westlake from San Francisco. So lots of that. James, you test Monday. Okay. So if you have any questions or comments, or you want brief, what Brian and I think you may encounter, or you want to ask what you think you might encounter, this is the place to do it. Let's see. Did you tell us, James, whether you're taking a 7, what exam you're taking? If you tell us what your exam is, we can point out some areas for you to focus on. There you go. Bon chance, mes amis, as we say in French. Bismarck, North Dakota. Oh my goodness, Patrick. Yeah, I got a shiver just thinking of it. You know? Woo, woo. You know? I think I'm cold thinking of that. Yeah. Dr. GME in the house. 4 weeks. Oh, I told you I'm simpatico. I can't think of anything I would want to do less than study NASA exams for 4 weeks. Now change of plans and jobs, need a 65. Well, it's your good news. Your study effort did not go to waste. The major difference is the economics. So, you got 30 extra questions and most of them are economics. So I don't think you've wasted any time whatsoever. There's nothing on the 66 that isn't fair game on the 65. It's just additional. Would you say, Brian?
And the 12 additional investment vehicle questions.
Yes. So,
for a Series 7 person, that shouldn't be much of a problem.
Yeah, treat the NASA exams with a proper level of respect. But Brian's right? I consider the 65 to be a baby 7. I mean, because if you don't have a background in investments, it can be a real challenge. But make sure you pay attention. Now that Brian said that, make sure you pay attention to mutual funds. Make sure you can contrast an open end and a closed end fund. You should have been able to do that for 66 as well.
Right.
Make sure you can do tax and tax-free equivalent yields. If I can give you a taxable yield, you can tell me what tax-free is, equivalent, or vice versa. Make sure you can do that. I don't think your change in course and your change in direction is going to be too big a deal based on those 2 exams. Whoop. Well, it depends what you mean by the definition, Charlie, of structured products. I'll defer to Brian on this, but I consider structured products first point to be heightened suitability. And I would consider that to be ETFs, ETNs, and you definitely need to know those. So, Brian, let me get Brian some board space. What I'll do, Charlie, just one more point.
You nailed it.
Okay.
Structured products is the test code for ETN.
Yeah. So hold on just a second, Brian.
Absolutely a suitability issue.
Hold on.
You're not going to sell a 72-year-old looking for fixed income, something that's linked to the stock market.
Yeah. Hold on, Brian. You're getting excited. I want to tell Charlie what we do in the live streams. So, Charlie, the time mark for your question is 7:30. So in the replay tomorrow, in the video description, I'll put 7:30 and I'll link a video for this topic for you. So that'll be available. Okay, Brian, I'm going to turn over your board to you, and then I'll comment on anything else I think is important.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the term structured product is a test code essentially for an ETN, an exchange traded note. And it's linked typically to the stock market. So and Dean was absolutely nail on the head, suitability issue. You don't want to sell a 72-year-old looking for fixed income a bond that's linked to the stock market.
Yeah.
Because that principal amount is affected by market activity. So you can actually get less than par value for your bond.
Yeah, and remember, you also have default risk, Charlie, because remember the key letter there is N, note. Yeah. So, I wouldn't be worried about it if the note is sponsored by, JP Morgan or, Bank of America. But if it comes from ETNs or us, I might be a little more concerned about that. I just would comment, it's more, Brian brought up suitability. It's a trading vehicle. It's not an investment vehicle. So totally inappropriate for somebody who wants a long-term investment. I would throw into that basket ETFs. You should be able to contrast how ETFs are different than an open-end mutual fund and how ETFs are different than ETNs. So there is some performance opportunities there for sure. So James says he's taking the 7. So I would say, James, make sure it's the usual suspects: options, munis, and mutual funds. I mean, there's other stuff, but that function 3, function 1 in the FINRA content outline is find a customer. Function 2 is open an account, and function 3 is investment vehicles. So, when people sometimes say, how do you know that's not on the test? I said, well, they can't randomly make up things to ask you. It's got to be within the content outline. And that third section is 91 questions on investments. So Brian has said, Dean, is there any debrief for this week? And I told you it was all over the board. What are you going to do? I feel sorry for you as a test taker. So be careful, guard your psyche. So one person said he didn't get any options.
What?
And then the other person said they had 40 options.
What?
Yeah. So I say, Brian thinks I'm on the high side. I say 20, give or take. I think Brian thinks more like 15. So,
yeah.
But munis are there, and so are mutual funds. I think people underestimate how many mutual fund questions there are on all the exams. Oh no, not at all, Trevor. You don't have to calculate earnings per share. You have earnings available to common, but you should certainly be able to do PE. You should certainly be able to do dividend payout ratio. You should have a general understanding of fully diluted earnings per share. Trevor, this is timestamp 1047, and I will post a video on the balance sheet for you in the replay tomorrow. I just put that up a couple weeks ago. Brian, you think he's going to have to calculate earnings per share?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Make sure you have this general idea of earnings available to common, right? So, yeah.
Remember, only 5 calculations total.
Yeah. Listen, a lot of times a debrief, people say they didn't say anything. So, be careful. Yeah. Don't, the way I say is don't overdose on math. Erica, how are you? I know you work hard. I see you on the channel every day, marching through those videos. Keep grinding, man. Keep grinding. You want to it's kind of like Dr. GME. The work he did on his 66 is going to pay dividends for his 65. The work, Erica, you do, I think you're still on your SIE, will pay big dividends on a 6 or a 7. So I wish I could get to every SIE test taker and say, listen, you want to do, as much work as you can on that SIE, get that first pass under your belt, and then, go on to the next one. 2 weeks, plenty of time. The difference in tragedy and comedy is timing, Erica. So 2 weeks, you have plenty of time. So I joke, your study plan is like an option. It's a wasting asset. Time value erodes. So at some point you got to, hang it up. I'm so happy. I had a guy, Brian, he got a 60, I forget what it was, low 60. He was freaking out. I said, well, listen, we've had people get 58s and pass. That doesn't do you any good. You've got to stay dedicated, disciplined, and organized. You can't get wobbly. Anyways, just before we started the live stream, he got passed. So,
yay.
Yeah, the economics, Dr. GME, is pretty straightforward. For example, can you tell me, let's see, this is timestamp 1241. I'll put an economics lecture for you at 1240. Anyways, you got to know monetary policy is the Federal Reserve Board and tool of the Feds. Tool of the Fed, you got to know fiscal policy is government spending and taxation controlled by Congress and the president. So it's, I think, pretty straightforward. Balance of trade. Do you think, now listen, I'm saying straightforward, but, I'm a guy who likes economics. If you're not a guy, there are people at 65, if you're not, if it's not your thing, I joke, if you're a tabula rasa, and, maybe it's not going to be so straightforward. People really do struggle. What do you think, Brian? Is 65 the exam that people struggle most on?
Yes.
In your experience? I think so too. I think
it's
so.
A much more diverse audience who is taking the exam.
Yeah. I think it's, I would say, I find that, that is the exam that when people are struggling, they're just really struggling.
Brr.
Yeah. Bombing on bonds and debt. Well, like I said, you got 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to kind of get that under control. And Erica, remember your SIE. Yeah. The teeter-totter seesaw, really important. Good thing, Brian. 1352 is the timestamp, Erica. I know you're active on the channel. Maybe you've already seen some of our bond lectures, but I'll link a video there in the replay at 1359 for you. Erica, I want you to know something. So most of the SIE is recognition flashcard stuff, right? So I don't think it's, you have to have, I don't know how much depth, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's not as much depth on the SIE as you're going to encounter on the 7. So I would put, take that as encouragement that, and by the way, most test prep vendors, Brian and I always say we're a bridge from the test prep vendors to the 7, and none of them, I think, carve out their material for SIE. So most of the time they're using their Series 7 content for the SIE content. And so therefore they might be asking you things that are a little more in-depth. On the channel, Erica, we have some great practice exams for you. We got another one that's coming out Thursday. But you have one from me, you have one from Brian, you have two from Kaplan, you got a new one Thursday. So Brian's has very good correlation. So make sure you do that too before you test. Oh, well, past perfect, Eric, is just what I said, right? Past perfect is sometimes outrageous. I mean, just really outrageous. Last week, I made some significant money. This is sad, tutoring people about how to answer a past perfect question. And Erica, what hurts my heart so much, they're never going to encounter that on the exam. So I'm not a big fan of past perfect. I know that, I recommend to people a paid supplement, whether it's Kaplan's QBank or Brian's supplement, because they have too much on past perfect and you don't really know if you're in the weeds or not with past perfect. So if you have a supplement, whether it's the channel, you can use the channel if you don't want to spend money. And what you're looking for is confirmation. So, if past perfect asks you to do something and nobody else ever brings it up, it's probably a sign that it's not a big deal. So, it depends. 65, I would know current yield for sure. I would know inputs and outputs. I wouldn't be worried too much about doing the math, but I would know the input to the formula and the output, because I don't think you're going to have to fire it up. I told you should certainly know current yield, taxable equivalent. What do you think, Brian?
Total
Recognize present
return.
value.
I know there's a tax adjusted total return question.
Yeah.
Probably one of the more in-depth, but
okay. So this is 1623 user MIC123. We're at 1630. So in the timestamp, I will put a video called Analytical Tools. And Analytical Tools goes over that part of the exam and those formulas for you. So I don't think you would have, again, recognition. I would know discounted cash flow. I'd recognize that. I would recognize dividend discount model. I would recognize dividend growth model. Not so much can I do it. What do you think about the rule of 72? Would you know that, Brian?
Again, let's just harken back to what you say all the time. Don't get lost in the math. There's only 5 questions.
Yeah, and the problem is people go down that math rabbit hole and they never come back. We never see them again. So, I'll post that for you. I'll post what I think is the analytical tools. If you watch me do go through that, I do comment on ones I think are important or not. Series 65 debrief. Thank you, Stephen. We love debrief. Which would you ask a client? Choices are amount of life insurance, cash flow from dividends, and his prior experience with investments. I would say risk tolerance. The insurance would be a capital needs analysis. What do you think based on that, Brian?
Yeah, I think I have a question on my practice final that's similar to this. You conduct a thorough risk analysis. Which would you ask? Amount of life insurance, cash flow from dividends.
I would toss out cash flow from dividends.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I think this might be the cash need analysis, which of course was
that would be the life insurance.
That would be the life insurance. Yeah.
So capital needs analysis. What happens to you, right? If something happens. By the way, Stephen, I don't know if you've already passed. If you have, thank you so much for paying it forward with questions, participation like this, and giving us debrief. But if not, I would tell you that Brian's practice exams have really good correlation to the actual exam. So when Brian says, "Oh, I think I got a question like that," that's kind of like a heads up, like, "Hey, some of them." I don't know about you, Stephen. I know that when I take a test, I like to get to the first question I know the right answer to. I go, all right, there's something on this test that I actually know. So hopefully you're not like 30 deep before you see something, whether it was on my channel or in Brian's practice exam or in Kaplan. I'm joking. I don't want to scare anybody. It might take longer if you're using Past Perfect to find that. What are ETNs good for? Well, they're trading vehicles, Sophia. So if you're a trader and you want to do day trading or something like that, they're good for that. You're asking the wrong person, because I'm not a big believer in ETNs. I'm a old OG, and I believe in investment vehicles that are tried and true, not these newfangled structure products. But they're not going to ask you. What's that?
I'm sorry. I've got an answer for that question.
Okay, there you
go. There's one thing good about ETNs. It's a question on the Series 65. People know.
I was just about to say, don't overcomplicate our lives. You definitely need to know it's a trading vehicle, not a long-term investment, heightened suitability, and you got to know it's a debt instrument for sure.
That's it. That's right. That's exactly it.
There is no bond ratios you need to know, Erica, for the SIE. There is 0 bond ratios necessary for the SIE. Let me say that again, 0. So I'm not sure, what you're looking at in terms of past perfect. I will help you on any question. So it's easier to help people with Kaplan material, but, screenshot that, email it to me. I think I have my email here. Hold on, let me grab my email.
What is a bond ratio?
I can't even imagine what they would be asking about.
I don't even know what that is. Bond yields.
So there's my email, Erica. And so when you run into a question like that, cut and paste it and send it to me. But there is no bond ratio question on the SIE. So as we said, that's one of the reasons we like you to come to the live stream, because as we said before, Brian and I consider ourselves to be a bridge to the actual exam. We are trying to sell you, 1,000-page textbooks like Past Perfect or any of that stuff. So, please, come and make sure you're checking with us about where you're spending time, because it may or may not be something you need to worry about. Okay, let's see, bond ratios. Whoop, let me get rid of it. Looks like I'm showing you boom, get back to work here. Okay, our next one. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Every test prep vendor does it a different way. So I wouldn't worry too much about that in terms of the way your book is organized. Everybody's trying to target the test specifications from NASA. I would highly recommend that you go to the NASA and get the NASA test specifications. And I would have that by me while I studied, so I can do an intellectual inventory, so I can kind of see what it is I'm reading and studying and how that fits into the context of that test specification. Brian, on all his quick notes that comes with his course, he'll send you the PDF for it. If you just want the PDF, it's like $36, but he actually goes through that outline and talks about it. I do the same thing in terms of explicated videos in my playlist. You can watch me go through it and type on the screen. Hey, I'm not a typist. I've had people tell me my typing is awful and I need to learn how to use Microsoft Word. You get what you pay for. It's free. So, if you want something pretty, I told Brian how jealous I am as how pretty he is. And then he told me that he paid somebody who knows what they're doing.
I'm a horrible formatter. All my quick notes have the NASA outline.
Yeah. I think the quick notes are great value. The Kaplan also sells the quick sheets, and those are pretty good too. And you can get that for I think it's $20 for the quick sheets laminated. And when my discount goes like 19. What do you think, Brian? Social media and advertising on 66.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. I recall from the 66 the social. I'm more concerned, I think, with the cybersecurity of accounts.
Yeah, it's in that same kind of thing where NASA did their pilot survey. So advertising. I would know the obvious thing that it should be fair and balanced. It shouldn't be false and misleading, that kind of thing. And then social media, written procedures are required. Yeah. And then the social media is kind of nebulous because remember, every firm is different. So there isn't really a test question about social media, except knowing that you are held accountable for whatever your firm's policies and procedures are. That's what I would say. So
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I have not seen that, Eli. I'll check. I don't know if it went into some spam filter or whatever, but I'll check that and certainly, respond to you. So I just listen, Eli, if you're going to do that, if we do tutoring, Brian is available. Brian is excellent. He's, I'm almost totally booked until like early next week. Brian is $90 an hour. Mine is done on my tutoring page, booking page. And I had a guy and he booked tutoring for the 9. He was like testing like literally almost the next day. Please don't do that. We want to be able to do some remediation if possible. So everything you said about munis, there you go. Parity. Yeah. Justin, thank you so much. You cannot be fumbling around with how to calculate parity on the Series 7. There's very few things you got to be able to do as a matter of routine. So I'm going to post that. I think that's great, Justin. It sounds like you're a victorious test taker, but I'm still going to post at 2440. I'm going to post a video on parity. And yeah.
And Dean, this goes exactly to what you and I said. It's great when everybody basically is saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Munis, options, mutual funds, know your convertible parities, know
Yeah.
the T-charts. We just reinforce that over and over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
over.
And that's why I
You
say
can
it's
never
just,
say it enough.
Justin and Vidya, that's what we so like about Victorious Test Takers coming, because, we would, Brian and I hope we have some moral suasion and people will listen to us, but, you don't really know, if you're, new, if Victorious Test Takers come back and confirm it, well, then, you can rely upon that a little more. But the one thing I would do, I think it's absolutely spot on. You got to be able to do parity. And the one thing I always want to warn you about is you can't do anything with the conversion price. So you've got to, as a test taker, you see the conversion price, you got to establish the conversion ratio. Brian, I think Brian has some trick that he doesn't have to do that. Is that why you're giving me that look? You want to show him
I was
how
trying
to
to understand what you were saying. I was just trying to interpret.
Brian, I think, has a little trick on how to do it with not that way. Oh man, that hurts. Man, that hurts. Ugh, that hurts. Yeah, I'm with you. I try and keep a positive mental attitude. It's amazing. In our 24 Reddit, it's where we have the most negative people. I can't figure out how to make a post like, please, where, this is supposed to be uplifting for people, not, so, and I know it's tough. We have a guy, and if you're on the live stream, I apologize for what I'm about to say in terms of tough love. His post was so negative, I don't even know how to respond. Part of me wants to say, your stinking thinking is not helpful. It's not helpful for you. It's not helpful for others. So please do try and stay motivated. I guess what I would tell you, 68 is not that you don't know this. It's unfortunate. That's why those scores, I think, are more exasperating than anything else. I hope you didn't change answers. I hope you're doing some practice finals to kind of see where you're at, do an intellectual inventory. So if this is Tuesday, why don't you do a practice final tomorrow and get a score, and let's see where you're at. Do you have any scores yet? Do Brian's. Go on Brian's. Go on the channel and do Brian's. You can hit pause, answer, hit play, watch me do it, and get a score, and that'll tell you where you're at. Good news or bad news, right? So you might want to consider doing that. Well, Trevor, are you talking about adjusting the limits below the market, like a buy limit for dividends? Because otherwise, I don't know what you mean by math questions. Or adjustments for a stock split? Is that what you mean? I'm not sure what you mean by math questions. Remember, limit orders are where I want to buy or sell at my price or better, and you definitely got to know where they get placed in relationship to the order, the market. They do get adjusted below the market for cash dividends, unless you tell me do not reduce. So if you could give us some more verification on that, Trevor, I'd be interested in terms of what you mean by math. Oh, 80 banker, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of 80 banker. So listen, I bitch about past perfect, but at least they give you too much rather than not enough. So too much is better than not enough. Yeah, I think 80 Baker, pretty thin, I guess is how I would say that. What about you, Brian? Are you so if you listen, we're trying to help you. So I would say if you have 80 Banker, you need to be invest in a supplement. Whether it's a free supplement on the channel like mine, my SIE playlist, or whether it's paid supplement like Brian or a Kaplan Q Bank, you need a paid supplement. So don't give yourself all the resources you need to pass. And I think 80 Banker is training consultants. I think they're thin again, but I don't think you're at risk using training consultant. I prefer they have more questions. The thing that makes Kaplan, I think, the competitive is the Kaplan Q Bank. There's nobody that has a better Q Bank than Kaplan. So, training consultants, I think, is fine. Listen, I'm not worried about you using training consultants. I'm worried about you using AD Banker. So, woo! Wow. I don't do any insurance. I'm just not an insurance guy. So, yeah, sorry about that. It doesn't speak to me at all. So I don't think anytime soon I'd be doing insurance. I joke that insurance agents sell fear and stockbrokers sell greed. If your insurance agents say, wouldn't life be terrible if? And stockbrokers say, wouldn't life be wonderful if? So I know that that's in the journey for most of you. Most of the people I know are going to get licensed in securities and life insurance. But sorry, I mean, other than the life insurance questions found on securities exam, that's pretty much the limit of my expertise and getting involved in.
Did you ever get an insurance license, Dean?
Never.
I took the life and health exam, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, Tiffany, thanks. Another victorious test taker. Woohoo. So if you, she's got one more leg of her testing journey. Test for 66 in 3 weeks. There you go. So if you have any questions about the 7 from a victorious test taker, Tiffany is in the house. Eli is also a successful test taker on the 7. I mean, he's already, it's amazing to me, Brian, how many people are matriculating right to 9s and 10s and 24s from, in the old days, you have to spend 2 or 3 years before you would be worthy of a 9, 10, or 24, but not so much anymore. So Tiffany, kudos. Congratulations on your victory, your testing victory. Yeah. Yeah, Eric, I worry about you. I really do. I worry about you. So try and stay out. dig your way out. Why don't you go do, like I say, Erica, why don't you go do the SIE practice exam from Brian on the channel, get a score, and, let me know what that score is, and we'll know, I think you said 2 weeks, and we'll see where you're at. You got plenty of time, so there's no need to panic. So Erica is asking what kind of questions you see now. Remember, every draw could be different. So, there's standard things we expect people to tell us they see, but remember, every draw is a little different. Yeah, I think, Trevor, that there are some of the NASA exams that do get waived. Do you know, Brian, do they waive the 65 for CFPs? I've heard that before. I'm not sure if it's an urban myth or it's true.
I don't know. I don't want to comment if I don't know for sure.
Well, gee, that's no fun.
I can lie.
That never stops me from commenting on anything. You sure can. You can share commissions when somebody properly registered with your firm. And you can share commissions even if they're not at your firm if you have permission from the state. My sense it should be permission. Yeah, I can't think of a better word, from the state administrator. You don't need to inform the client if you're a team that's sharing commission. No, how we split up our commissions internally is no business of the customers. Right. So, yeah, well, we try and do this every Tuesday. Every Tuesday you find Brian. Brian is, like I say, he's being nice because this is not a commitment he has made. So, he had a hockey game one time, and I think he said, "Didn't you tell me you're going dark for the next couple of weeks?" Or is that
the Tuesday before Christmas will be the last one.
Tuesday
until after.
Hey, put in the chat. Put in the chat. I was thinking about going dark too until the end of the year, and then my mom is retired, and I live with mom, and she's always, I love her, but I was telling her I was going dark, and she goes, "No, you can't. There's. I think she thinks like we're
people who need you out there."
Yes, exactly. Mom, I don't really think that's big. It's that big a deal. But why don't you tell us whether you're going to be here for the next couple of weeks, or we should go dark?
It was more of everything.
Everything, to be honest. Yeah. So the biggest thing, Erica, I would leave you with is it's mainly recognition, and you need to, we talked about it, stay out of the rabbit holes. Very straightforward. There you go. Victorious test taker letting you know. Not anytime soon, Candace. I just finished a 24 class, and I want to put a 24 exam up on the channel. I just haven't got around to it. I'm so with you, Candace, if this is you. The thought of me sitting down and doing 150 questions, 24 to put on the channel, it's just such a slog. I'm like, every morning I wake up and think I'm going to do it. And then I did it once, and this is where I'm too smart for my own good or too dumb for my own good. My studio has like multiple screens and cameras and stuff. And so I got the whole thing done, and then I went to timestamp it, and I had the wrong camera on. So the screen didn't show the questions. I was like, oh, man. But I will be putting up that soon. Brian and I are talking about our collaboration on the 24, putting something together for folks, and, what format that may take. We're not quite sure if it'll be like a teachable platform, or maybe we'll do a live in Vegas. Who knows? We're talking about it. But Candace, make sure if you need help, I'm here. So, I think the other thing that my channel is a little different is we have content for all exams. So it's not as much as I'd like on 9, 10, and 24. It's getting better, but I really appreciate 9s, 10s, and 24s because, to be honest with you, a big part of the growth of the channel has been 9s, 10s, and 24s who then refer their folks to us. So, 24s are very important to us. And the other thing, we do have a community Candace I told you about. I don't know if you're on it. It's our Reddit community, R Series 24. And I don't know if you were here, Candace. It seems the 24 is so weird because, I'm trying to think of a half way to tell people on that Reddit. We're here to uplift people. We're not here to be negative. So you may or may not want to join that community. Yeah, do you want that one, Brian, or you want me to take it?
Is it still tested?
I think it's a test
Do
prep.
we know that yet?
I think I'm with Brian. I do think this is a test prep vendor question and not an actual Series 7
It's
question.
been around. It was on the old Legacy 7.
So before Brian does his board work, let me just put a timestamp 3542, and we will put something there for protected puts. The thing I would remind you in this situation, Daniel, is you have to be at risk for more than 12 months to qualify for long-term capital gain. So let's start with that you have to be at risk for more than 12 months. Please note, I didn't say you have to hold the stock for 12 months. I said you have to be at risk for 12 months. So here's Brian. We're going to have to get you some new pins, Brian. I don't know if it's just me, but.
No, I just got a whole new bag of them. I think they're in my pocket. That's the
Okay.
garbage. So we buy the 100 shares at 50, June 30th, 2017. Then several months later, we buy the protective put, expiration April. We buy that on November 30th, 2017. The put then expires in April of 18, and then we sell the 100 shares July 30th, 2018. Now, it appears to be a 13-month holding period. But because of the protective put, we are no longer at risk for that period of time from November to April. That's 5 months. So the IRS will subtract that amount from the actual holding period so that the holding period then goes from long-term to short-term. So protective puts affect the holding period of a stock.
Yeah, the way I think of it, Daniel, is it interrupts the holding period. That's the way I think of it. So it interrupts the holding period. So I'm with Brian. I think it's more a test prep vendor, situation than a actual.
It used to be a Legacy 7 question. I don't believe it's still on there.
I got to figure out where in the channel we can have legacy rants because Brian, I'm so with you because, now you push my button. The exam used to be 6 hours, 2 3-hour sessions, and there were a lot more of these questions. And my pet peeve, Daniel, is none of the test prep vendors want to cull their Q bank because they don't want to go from saying I have 3,600 questions, but now we have 3,000, but they're more appropriate. So whether it's Kaplan or STC or Past Perfect, training consultants, he said it's a legacy question from the actual exam, but there are all kinds of legacy practice questions in test prep vendor content. So it drives me nuts.
Dean and I have about 4 times more experience teaching the Legacy 7 than the new top off. Right?
Yeah. How to get a hold of Brian? All right. So hold on. Here's how you get a hold of Brian. Boom, boom, boom. That is Brian's email. So you just send him an email and off you go. Off you go. I keep telling him he should raise his prices. I think $90. That's pretty damn reasonable.
2023.
2023. Get it now. Get it now. I saw somebody was doing a Black Friday sale on something, and I thought, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Really?
Okay, let's see. Did I miss anything here? Yeah. Oh, so you already knew that trick. Okay, great. Great.
Are you going backwards?
Okay, we just did that. We just did that. We just did that one. Series 6. Use the practice exam for 60. I wish I had more, Mavi. Unfortunately, I don't. I don't know if you participated in my poll. I put up a poll about 2 polls. One is should we sequence content? And based on that poll is how I'm adding things to the channel. So there's going to be the SIE Thursday, and then 7 the following Thursday, then 66, and then I'll rotate to the 6. So it's coming, but I don't know when you're testing. And I'm basing it on demand. Then I put up another poll, and I appreciate when you participate because it helps me, but the other poll is, what exam are you taking next? And if you check out that poll, again, as much as I've had people, well, you didn't have 9 or 24 as a choice. I go, well, because there's not that many people, but you can see the spread there in terms of stuff. So the answer is yes. I will have more content in the 6 playlist. It's just a matter of time, but when I do that, so it's coming. I hear that a lot about the Test Geek. I hear a lot about the Test Geek being a game changer. So, so.
I love you, man.
I think this out. Oh, there you go. What to do with the next 2 weeks? Just spend more time with Brian. No.
Thank you, Tavis. I appreciate that very much.
I would suggest doing practice. Got to do a couple more practice finals, right? You'd always lay some more base knowledge through reading and doing chapter checks, things like that. Would you add to that, Brian?
Practice final, identify the weak areas. Practice final, work on the weak areas. Practice finals, work on the weak areas.
Yeah, confidence, Justin. I'm so with you. I can't prove it, but confidence, I think, is 10, 15 points. And it's tough. It's tough. So Justin, I'm once a Marine, always a Marine, Justin. And I told him privately, I didn't tell this person publicly this, but
punch him back.
I said, you have a confidence issue. And then, oh man, they were so upset. Again, I don't know what to do about that because it is important, Justin. And maybe I lack the people skills, but we have somebody on social media and I don't even know how to respond to his thing because I just feel like saying the Marine Corps would-be drill instructor me wants to say, buck it up and stop your stinking thinking. So as Brian says, take the test, don't let the test take you. So, fake it till you make it. So Justin, if you have any way that you tell people to be confident in their study efforts, what I always say, Justin, is to test takers is you got to be confident in your study plan, the execution of your study plan. You've got to be confident in yourself. And most importantly, you've got to be confident in your answers on the exam. You've got to, even if that's not true, you got to, first thing I ask people, did you change answers? Usually people who are not confident are changing answers and they've got some habits that could cause them to be at risk. So, woo. Yeah, I think I stole. Did you see that? I'm making videos now and I stole that from you. I'm not going to steal that one from you. So, C Hill, I'm now opening the videos. I used to say greetings, test takers. But since you were here last week, I told you I was going to steal that from you, and I have. So hopefully you haven't copyrighted it. So now instead of saying greetings, test takers, I say greetings and salutations, test takers. I like it. It reminds me of, I don't know where I've heard it before. I think I'm a Mason. And I don't know if we do that in the Masonic Lodge or something with that phraseology. I like it a lot. And I think I've heard it from somewhere. So I don't know where I've heard it, but I've heard it from somewhere. Yeah, persistence overcomes resistance. I believe that. Test takers, I think it says when you suffer the initial misfortune of not passing, I always say that's a test, pass to test, a test of resiliency and the actual test itself. And by the way, it bodes well for your future in the securities industry. You wouldn't think, but it does. I'm less worried about people who suffer some initial misfortune and getting into our industry than I am who people just breeze through it and they don't have any problems or issues or, There you go. So I don't know if that successful test taker, she's still in the building, but if she is, there she is. So it looks like she's still here. So the question is, any specific recommendations you may have? Kaplan Tavia has QID numbers. So if you are struggling with any QID, just send the QID to me. And I'm more than happy to make a little video of the question and help you out that way. I don't know if you've seen it. There are a lot of Kaplan video questions that I've answered on the channel where, I fire up the video and then you can watch me do the question. So if you have any, so Trevor says it was splits, adjusting for splits. I don't know if I would do the math as much as I would just look for a hack, like more shares at a lower price. Yes, no, Brian, what do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
No math involved whatsoever.
So when I get a math question, I'm not being facetious. I'm not math is not my strong point. So I'm kind of, first thing I do when it's a math question is look for a hack. Is there some way for me to do this without doing the math? So,
I got them. I got all the hacks for you.
Yeah, there you go. So Brian's got all the hacks. Yeah, I think, like I say, every test prep vendor, Brian and I are agnostic about your vendor. I mean, we're here to help everybody. Well,
We try to
if
be,
you ask for a
yeah.
recommendation, we'll give it to you. But we help everybody. So whether you're AD Baker, and I think you need probably more help, I'm joking, but training consultants, STC, Past Perfect, STC, Knobman, we don't care. We're here to be a bridge between that vendor and your actual successful taking of the test, right? As Brian says, to get the P. All we care about is you getting your P. So I think there are vendors that make that easier, Yeah, I think that's good range to be in. I worry about when you're below 70. Doesn't mean you're not going to pass. We had somebody today, I told you, who passed, and he was getting low 60s. And, I told him not to get wobbly. And sure enough, he checked in today and he passed. So, again, that's Justin's point, right? Don't get wobbly. You got to, I told this guy, you got to, you can't be getting worried or scared. You got to, go down there and give it your shot. Can we do some break evens? I don't know. You want to do a break even on the whiteboard?
I'll do a real quick one. An email I actually got today.
Okay. So let me give Brian his point, and then Erica at 4606. That's the timestamp. I will put a video on break evens for options on the SIE only, Eric. I'm not going to put a video there for all the option strategy because you're not held accountable on the SIE for all of the option strategies.
The question to me was, this is a hedge strategy. Anytime you have a stock position with an option, that's a hedge. And the question on my email was, well, don't you find the break even of a put by subtracting the strike price? Or
such a common mistake.
I said, well, that's the individual option. You have to take in the account the stock position. For hedges, and Dean and I are both big proponents of the old T-chart. You buy 100 shares at 35, you buy the put at 3, you're out a total of 38. That's what you would have to sell the stock for just to break even. There's your break even on the hedge. In my material, I simply tell people for hedges, to find break evens, easiest question on the test. All you got to do is do a T-chart and let the answer fall right to the bottom.
Yeah, by the way, the other thing I would add to that, Erica, is if you do the T-chart, then you also can shop the answer set. And there's 4 offers to you. And you could see if you plugged it in on the end column, it would make the columns balance because that's what break even is, right? So once I get my T, 35 and 3, I look at choice C and I say, oh, if I plug 38 in there, it would make it work, right? So that's another way to proceed on that. Now, I would also tell you, not on your SIE, Erica, but on your 7, you should know that the reason we do this is to have the ability to participate in a big price increase, but not participate in a big price decline, right? So we did construction here. We put in a floor at 35. Any tips? I think, Gabriel, first thing I would do is read the book cover to cover and as close to one setting as possible. Once you get the book read, then I would start doing some chapter checks and quizzes. And Brian do you have, Brian, does that video exist on YouTube where you talk about a study
How
plan?
to best study and pass your exam.
Is that free on the YouTube or not?
It is free on all my YouTube videos are free.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I didn't know if that was in there. Okay, so I'm going to post at 48:35. That's the timestamp. I'm going to post a link to Brian's study plan video, which is pretty good. As I recall, I think it's 3 pillars or something like that.
Yes.
So 3 pillars, I think, is what he calls it. The pillars of the study plan, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and is that generic to any exam, Brian?
Yes, it is. It is generic to all exams. Yeah.
So, Gabriel, I will, post that. I think you start by reading the book cover to cover would be my first. I had a guy who was incredulous when I said it. He goes, you know how many pages there are? I go, well, yeah. And he goes, how long is that going to take me? I said, well, read for an hour, figure out how many pages you read, and then divide the book total by that, and I'll tell you how many hours that takes.
I thought you said you weren't good at math.
All right, investment advisor, Representative Drew. Hoo-hoo. All right. That's 65, man. I love those testing victories, man. Those speak. Yeah, Justin, I think we're simpatico. I think we're simpatico. The way I say that is inch by inch. Your Series 7 or your Series Exam is a cinch, right? So make sure every day. Whoop, that's not it. Hold on. There is my banner. There's my banner. Boom.
Where's your picture, Dean?
My picture. What picture?
Your face. I can't see your face.
Oh, sorry. I gave you the board.
There
You
you
can
go.
take it back.
I can do a song and dance. If you want.
I'm sorry. I forgot to put that thing. I'm still not as good at these controls as I should be. So,
You need
anyways,
an
I'm
engineer.
totally with Justin here. Every day, do something. I joke that I don't know. Brian jokes as I do, but I consider myself to be a fake accountability partner, meaning I'm not somebody who can hire you or fire you. But if Justin and I was a real accountability partner, I'm with Justin. I would want you to commit to some certain level of activity that I could see, whether it's a certain amount of questions or how often am I going to see a practice exam from you. So, I totally with Justin on that. He says, I'd buy Test Geek SIE prep. There you go. But especially buy for the 7. So get the Test Geek himself. Let's see. Where are we at here? Oh, I like that. That's good. That's good feedback. Very good, right? Static is stuff that doesn't change. Like, your LinkedIn profile might be static if you're not changing your profile, right?
That's what I was saying.
Interactive is like where I'm
Active
interactive
versus
because I'm actually
passive.
responding to people on LinkedIn. Like that. That's good feedback. I hate that 68. Yeah, products is the biggest section. Chase would go to. This is 5127. And I will link to my video on that section of the SIE, and it's like 33 questions on investments, and I walk you through that. So I'll put
That's
that.
almost half the exam. Yeah,
it is. So 2 weeks, I think. Again, like we were with Eric. It sounds like Eric and you both got a 2-week time schedule. I don't think that's a problem. I think 2 weeks is plenty of time to find the points you need. So don't panic. Now, I didn't ask Eric or yourself whether you're full-time studiers or part-time studiers, and that could make a difference, but I think even your part-time study, you should still be able to make that work. Yeah, I think if you can't get it done before the holidays, why not, right? I mean, then you can enjoy Christmas and, New Year's. So you definitely should know that the A shares, Charlie, are for long-term investments, right? And then you should know the A share is the one that typically has the break point. And you should know the B shares have a contingent deferred sales charge, which is more appropriate for a long-term investor with a smaller amount to invest. And the B share is the one I think that comes off more often. And the C share has a continuous promotional expense. So that may not be suitable depending on how many years in it. So you want to add to that, Brian?
No, you got it.
Okay.
Front load, back load, level load.
Yeah, that is testable, though. That is definitely testable.
And you're absolutely right. The Class B is generally more tested.
Yeah, I did on debrief more Class B questions than A and C. Well, thank you, Ethan. I put a lot of work into the channel, so I appreciate it. Yeah, there you go. People don't realize that it's a lot of work. I'm behind right now, and I feel bad because I got like 30 videos with no timestamps, and I just don't have the time to do it. So I'm hoping, before New Year's, I'll get everything back up to speed in terms of timestamps. So I put on the channel, if you want to get paid to watch my videos, if they don't have a timestamp, like keep a timestamp and send it to me, and I'll Venmo you some money. I had somebody respond and say they would barter some tutoring with me for doing it. I said, yeah, whatever. I need to get it done. Every day. That's right. You got to do it every day. So Justin, that's right. Yeah, make sure so be careful this. So I recommend, Gabriel, study blocks. If you think you're going to study this stuff 8-10 hours a day, you're not. So if I were your accountability partner, I'd say, Gabriel, how long are your study blocks going to be? Are they going to be 45 minutes? Are they going to be an hour and a half? What are they? Again, let's say you say, I think I'm going to make a study block an hour. I say, okay, so we're going to do how many study blocks a day? You say, I'm going to do 8. I go, no, you're not. It's impossible. How about 4? Right. And then you're going to take a half-hour break each time. You're going to rotate your activity. So one study block you read, one study block you do questions, one study block you watch a video, and then change the subject area too. So if you're doing options, on the first study block. Don't do options on the second study block. Do muni. So if you rotate subjects, rotate activities, you'll stay fresher as you do that. And then I'm with Justin. So I would at least one study block. If you're a part-time studier, I would suggest making that study block in the morning before all the energy vampires get you, because it's hard to study in the evening. I mean, you could certainly watch Brian on video or me on video, and that's kind of passive. But if you can in the mornings, and if you're a part-time studier, then your weekends become very important, right? How many study blocks can you do during the weekend? So Tiffany had a holding question on her exam, so that put interrupting the whole bear. Well, there you go. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Good
Thank you
feedback.
very
Thanks, Tiffany.
kindly.
I've had where I was doing a day before you test kind of deal for these Merrill brokers, and somebody asked a question, and I said to the person, I said, well, it used to be there all the time, but nobody's seen it in years. And then I answered it, and she passed and called me and said, Dean, I saw it. I go, oh, well, sometimes it goes out of circulation and it comes back. Yeah, there we go. There we go. How do you find Brian's test? You go to the SIE playlist. So on my channel, you find your exam. Every exam has a playlist. And in the SIE exam playlist, there are, I think, 5 or 6 practice exams. You can find Brian's because it says Test Geek in the thumbnail. You can literally see that it says Test Geek. And so that's how you find it. And like I say, hit pause, answer the question, hit play. And then, if you have a question you don't like, then take it up with Brian. I had a guy today, Brian, I said, it's not my question. It's Brian's question. He's more than happy to talk to you about it. So, he was,
absolutely.
So, again, sometimes, it's free. I'm like, please, if you don't like my channel, go change the channel. There's other channels out there. Videos. There you go. Math holding question. Well, there you go. There you go.
Was it similar to the one we just did? It sounds
similar to that. Position limits. Oh my God. On a 7, that's crazy. That's crazy. So I think what shows up more often is not so much the position limits, but knowing the same side of the market, right? Because the position limits apply to the same side of the market. So long calls, short puts, short calls, long puts, and it applies to the class. The class would be the type plus the stock, Apple calls, Apple puts. It's more of a 9 or a 4. So we're getting some crazy feedback here. I would know 2 friends with discretionary accounts. I would know that you always, for anything, whether it's the 10%, you always combine them. They're considered to be acting in concert. So that's pretty straightforward and is testable. I've never seen that on a 7 in years about position limits. Have you had any feedback about position limits on the 7?
None.
So, well, as I say, sometimes you get a face of death draw on the 7, right? Maybe that was a practice question you came about. So I'm not sure. Right. I came about a question about position limits. So maybe that's past perfect or a vendor question. If you join me for 9 or 4, then that's definitely something you need to know. I see there's a content outline on Brian's site. That's not what I said. I said, if you buy Brian's stuff, it comes with a content outline, right? So he has where he explicates, I call it explication. So it's separate from other content. So on my channel, Brian has been kind enough to let us do his practice exams. So every one of the practice exams that Brian has is on the channel where you can watch me do it. You hit pause and I talk about the question, the right and wrong answers. And you can get a physical copy of that for $20 with the discounts like 16. Now, we don't want to mislead you. What you're getting is a PDF from Brian of that final. I think it's worthwhile, but I had somebody, all I got was a PDF of the final. I said, well, I thought we were pretty clear. That's what you're getting. Now, if you want to get the content outline that he has with his, what do you call them? Quick notes?
Quick notes.
The quick notes, I think that's 40, and that's a PDF, and it's definitely worth, I think it's like $36 with the discount. But it's all inclusive. So as you go up each of these, that you get what's in the previous thing. So all in on Brian is his teachable videos. Let me put that up there for you. So here's the Brian videos. If you want to go check this out, boom. So, and those videos, that's the video courses, and they're about $80, and that comes with all that stuff.
That's right.
That we're talking about.
And in the beginning of all the quick notes is the content outline.
Yeah. So there you go.
It's part of the quick notes on the PDFs or with the video course as well.
Okay, we're coming to the end of our time together. We try and keep it to the hour that we promise people. Let's see. Where are we at? Content outline. There we go. Yeah, there you go. 71. Oh man, Trevor, those scores hurt.
Yeah.
I noticed I'm not copywritten. I'm not sure what that's about. Oh, on my greetings and salutations. Tiffany, I think that's good. Thanks for sharing that. She's a victorious test taker. I think test prep vendors and accountability partners really are outrageous when they say you should be getting 85 or 90.
I agree.
I don't believe that. So, Tiffany, I think 70s are fine. I don't think you're at risk if you're at a 70. And many people between 60 and 70 do still pass, even though they're at risk. So I always tell people we don't want you to be at risk. So we'd like you to be in the 70 range before you test. Below 60, we've had people below 60 pass, but it's rare because that means you don't have enough base knowledge. Yeah, I think if you do a T-chart, if you're not struggling with contract specifications, you can track money, you get 100 options. You're going to want 125 option questions.
Yeah.
So I always say, fire up the T, fire up the T. You're welcome. You're welcome. Kudos, Caitlin, another victorious.
Yay!
Woo. Ooh. I'm with Tiffany, investment vehicles, products, right? Brian and I both are of the opinion you can't get suitability questions right if you don't know the products. So you got to make sure you know the products well enough so you can answer suitability questions. So get that P. Yeah, rotating subjects, I can't think keeps you fresher. I just put up a video on fundamental analysis balance sheet, so it's up there. It's kind of buried with all the video explications I brought back to the channel from Facebook and Reddit. Well, yeah, they're going to give you, Travis, for sure. They give you the tax bracket. So, the minute you see the tax bracket, you know that's where they're going in the question. And if they give you the taxable yield, you're going to multiply. If they give you the tax-free, you're going to divide. So that's the verbiage, They're going to either give you one of those yields, and then you got to solve for taxable yield, tax-free equivalent. And for, I'll tell you what, Travis, timestamp here, we're running a little over, but this is 101:53. And I will link to a video that's just on taxable and tax-free equivalent yields for you. I got a 15 kind of a video on that. Okay, I think, Brian, let me just see. We haven't left anybody here. Stay out of the weeds. I'm so a believer in that. Sandra, you work so hard. Erica and Sandra, I see them working their butts off on the channel, doing videos and commenting on it. And, I'm with you in spirit. So, keep in touch when you're doing those things. Remember, there's other things. I love people using videos. Make sure, you're doing other things. So make sure you're reading your book and you're doing your practice problems and all that stuff. 72 on a pass perfect exam is pretty damn good, to be honest with you, right? And 70 on a Kaplan is excellent. So yeah, I think you're good to go. I don't think you're at risk, Sandra.
That's good.
Particularly based on how hard I know you're working. You're welcome. Thank you for participating. All you victorious test takers, we just love. I'm going to have to figure out how the second anniversary is coming up at the channel. And we got to come up with, I don't know, something like a Dakota ring or, I don't know, a free coffee mug, something for our victorious test takers who stick around. Because as I joke, Brian and I come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is to pass your exams, the season, how long that takes. And, we love it when we don't lose somebody, even though the reason and the season is over. And we love it when you guys continue to pay it forward like this by participating. So you should know you are always, always welcome. Always welcome. All right, everybody. Okay, so that concludes Tuesday night. Thursday night, we'll do an SIE practice exam, and we'll see you next Tuesday. I think Brian will be here for that one as well. I think that's before it goes dark. And we'll see you then. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. Remember, inch by inch, your exam's a cinch. And Brian?
You take the test. Don't let the test take you. Punch it in the mouth. See you guys.